And we're live. Hello, I am your host, Mod Gambit. Welcome to this week's Old School Q&A. I'm joined on the couch today from your...
This takes you way too long.
From that side, we have Mod Kieran,
You alright?
Mod Liam, and on my...
I guess.
Mod Monroe and Mod Ash.
Hi.
Blimey. Can we start again? Can we rewind? Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, and welcome to this week's Old School Q&A. I am your host, Mod Gambit, and joining me on the couch this week we have Mods Kieran,
You alright?
Monroe, and Ash. Thank you very much for that.
Maybe they didn't notice.
I'm sure no one noticed. It's absolutely fine. So usual announcements and reminders. ! membership will bring you to our Premier Club package, the best value membership package that we offer at the moment. I believe we're still running the Razer Phone 2 competition, so if you're interested in that, plus the chance of winning 6 months of membership, it's ! Win Razer with an E. So just one announcement before we move on. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago on the Q&A, actually no, I think we had...
Stop doing, are you doing your farm run at the same time?
Doing my farm run, no.
You should play on mobile, it'd be a lot more subtle.
Mod Searcher came on a couple of weeks ago, we're over there now, saying that there'll be an opportunity for some of our San Francisco-based players. So if you're in the Bay Area of San Francisco, check your inbox messages in-game and your email from us, 4 messages from us about an opportunity to help us out in early April. We can't go into too much details about what we'll be discussing and getting opinions on at this time, but we'll be looking for some player feedback on, well, a certain initiative that we've got going, essentially. So yeah, check for messages from us on Friday for those. That's all I'm going to touch on that for the time being. I believe we have some numbers to show you from Mod Kieran relating to Kebos and drop rates and all sorts of juicy things like that.
Mod Monroe actually was the one who went and got them all.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of them. Yeah, so we got a couple of pictures to show you, and basically just a lot of different drop rates for, well, the Hespori, Alchemical Hydra, the Slayer creatures, and the farming pet from all different patches as well.
Excellent.
So, Mod John, could you bring up the first picture of the Alchemical Hydra, please? Yeah. So, there's Alchemical Hydra drop rates. The only thing to note here is that when you roll the Dragon Throne axes down through to the Brimstone Ring piece, you only roll the one afterwards if you don't get that roll. So if you don't get a Dragon Throne axes or knives, you get, and you then can get a Hydra Claw and so on, basically. And the other drops are all additional drops, such as the Jar Chemicals, the Hydra Heads, and the Pet. So
Take your screenshots now, quickly post it on Reddit.
yeah, pretty much. Can we show the Hespori one next? So this one's really quite straightforward. Well, compost buckets, 1 in 35. We give you quite a lot of White Lily seeds when you do get them as well. And the pet chance is also there. Which, the bottom one might not be the easiest to see actually, looking at it. But at level 99 it says 1 in 4525. Any thoughts so far on the drop rates?
Well, I mean, that's quite a rare pet chance compared to other ways of getting the pet, right?
But the thing is with the Hespori, it's not like it's the only way to get it. It's not the Hespori pet, right? It's the farming pet.
Sure.
So you can be doing trees, you can be doing seaweed, you can be doing Hespori all at the same time. So
Yeah.
it's a little different to like just the Hydra where it's 1 in 3,000 for this exact boss.
I saw people asking when the thing first came out whether the bottomless bucket was, quite rare because they'd managed to get 2 of them already and they'd only been playing for a few hours. And I was, well, I guess it really isn't that rare.
No, definitely not.
I mean, the problem is that it's quite different to a boss that you can just conventionally grind. So normally, you're going to do a boss 50 times in an hour or whatever. This boss, you got to wait for it to grow every single time. So if it was something more akin to 1 in 200, you might be looking at a year to get the drop. And so
On the,
it's reasonable to go 1 in 35 when it's like it grows once every 2 days or so, whatever it takes.
On the topic of the farming pet, it reminds me of a suggestion I saw. I didn't actually include it in the questions, but because it's come up. I saw a suggestion which was in the same way you can change the appearance of the mining pet. What about something similar for the farming pet where you use tree roots on it instead?
What, just to change the colour?
Just to change the appearance or the colour in some way.
Oh, if you could have a thing walking around with the magic sparkles on it, that would be really, really awful, actually. But maybe you'd like it.
And then there's one more picture to show with all the drop rates for the new farming patches, so the pet chance from each of the new patches.
Ah.
So,
Whoa.
yeah, there's a lot of numbers on this one, basically. But so that's all the new patches we added, and the base chances and the chance at level 99 for the pet.
Potato cact is a good abbreviation. Spud cactus might have fitted even better.
Yeah.
Maybe spud isn't universal slang for potato, I don't know.
Does that mean the redwood tree is the best chance out of everything in the farming
I
scheme?
think it's the best individual chance, but obviously it takes 3.5 days to grow. These should be mostly in line with existing patches that take similar times to grow.
Yeah, when I was looking at the numbers, they seem to, with the time for growth, the numbers seem to match up with everything else. So
Yeah. But out of all of the skill pets, farming's the hardest one to balance and get the right sort of numbers on it.
yeah, the last information we've got is basically it's at the bottom of there. And so, can I borrow that for a second?
So you're going to read it loud and they take notes.
Yes. For this last one, I don't really have. The
Secret
picture I got for this
information.
one's not very good.
Windows
so
notepad, people.
first off, we'll go with the aerial fishing. So we got the golden tench chance. Do you want to go with that one, Kieran?
Oh, go on. I want to do a reveal. So obviously, aerial fishing, you have the golden tench, you also have the pet chance. The golden tench, any guesses? Any guesses in the chat? Get your numbers in. I mean, I think people had a good idea what the Hydra drop rate was, but the numbers are flying. 1 in 73k, good shout. Definitely not.
Any guesses? Do you know?
I did know, then I forgot again. I was leaving it for you guys to reveal.
Right, well, it's 1 in 20,000. I have seen some people saying 1 in 20k, so good guess. Bingo. You want to do the pet?
Yeah. And so for the pet chance, we have a base chance of 636,833, which at 99 gives you a 1 in 634,000 or so chance to get it.
Is that per
It's per catch, per success. Yeah, per catch. So basically, anytime you catch it. And then for worms, we have a Dragon Harpoon is a 1 in 2,000 on task with 1 in 10,000 if you're off task. So uniques are 5 times rare off task for that. And the Dragon Sword is the same as that. And then for drakes, we have Drake Claws 1 in 512 on task and 1 in 2560 off task, and the same for the Drake Tooth. And the Dragon Thrown Axes and Dragon Knives are 1 in 2k for all the creatures and 1 in 10k off task. And the worms will give 75 to 150 of those every time you hit the table. The Drakes give 100 to 200 every time you hit it, and the Hydras give 200 to 400.
I'm thinking, do you want to tweet that lot when you've finished it? Like,
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure the wiki team are on it as we speak.
Yeah, I think I'll put out a bunch of tweets with, those pictures and this, what I'm reading out just now, in a nicer format because...
that sounds good, because I've seen 1 or 2 people who may have misheard somewhere.
Yeah, no.
Like, apparently we said that the tench was 1 in 650,000.
No, that was the pet.
Right.
The tench was that rare then, wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of tench people been getting.
Yeah. And the final thing is the normal Hydras have a 1 in 1,000 chance for the tail on task. It's 1 in 5k off task. And the Brimstone Ring Piece, so any individual ring piece, is 1 in 360 on task and 1 in 1,800 off task. So yeah, that's all the drop rates for Kebos. If we've missed any, let us know and I'll probably tweet them out later on as well.
Oh,
Enjoy.
there we
Now
go.
you can keep going back to asking about the top drop rates.
That's the next thing, isn't it? I suppose. Any plans to release those, Kieran?
One day. I said on the stream already this year.
For what it's worth, I don't mind confirming for people don't always know what the MVP flag is all about. So, rather like in Chambers of Xeric, where your contribution to the party counts towards your chance of being the unique recipient at the end, if any uniques are given, there's something similar going on in the top, where you die a lot, you're less likely to be the unique recipient. You contribute well and you don't die a lot, you're more likely to be the loot recipient. The MVP doesn't get a bonus on top of this. The MVP flag is just the way we mark which of those players has the highest chance. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a lot higher than everyone else either. So if there's 5 of us in there, and we'd all got the same chances except one person who'd got double the chance because they'd really been contributing more and everyone else had been dying and they never did, then that's only 6 shares. That person's got a 2 in 6 chance of being the loot recipient. We'd therefore flag them as being the MVP, but it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to get it because that's under 50%, so more than half the time the loot won't go to the MVP, but they've got a better chance than the rest of those people who'd only got a 1 in 6 chance each. Anywho, that's what MVP is. I think it was your idea to reveal who it was, and it's sure got a lot of attention since we did it. So
we added
I think you won there.
We added the post stats interface to the raids after launch.
Yeah.
Which is where we put it on.
Sorry about the breathing, by the way. I'm not offering to stop.
Unless anyone has something more to add, I guess we can move on to the questions. The first one was one that's been asked by several of you regarding PvP, which I think we ought to address, or at least touch on. So the question is, can we look at the polling system in regards to PvP? It's often the case that great potential improvements are often shot down by non-PvP players. So I suppose my response to that for the time being is we're aware of the problem. We know it's something that does happen, and that the PvP community feels like, you feel like you've missed out on quite a few things because of this. We are aware of it and thinking about ways around it, whether that be targeting polls towards players who engage in PvP or things like that, but it's not necessarily easy to fix, just for the simple reason that some people who might want to engage in PvP in the future, should they be included or excluded from that sort of targeting? We're not sure, but these are the things we're sort of thinking about.
Also, it's actually worth us investigating to even confirm that is indeed the effect, that it is non-PvP players voting no. We can look up who voted and we can actually analyse, okay, the people who've got a lot of kills in Bounty Hunter, how did they vote in comparison to those who didn't? And so, for an example, let's confirm we're actually judging it correctly as well.
Yeah,
and make the right call.
Cool, but yeah, just something I wanted to address. So into the questions then. Hulabek, that's how I'm going to pronounce it, asks if we can add a counter to mini games to show how many times you've played. I mean, we did the pest control counter recently, so...
For games that have a very clear definition of having played, that's fine. For Castle Wars, where you can go in and out of a particular session, potentially, that would be a little bit harder, but I expect it could be done in principle. Especially as most games really do have a definitive start and end, and don't let you go in and out like a yo-yo.
Yeah.
Not that yo-yos go in and out. What does?
AJ wants to know when we can expect the Graceful outfit rework, which has been discussed a couple times. So I think it was your idea, Mod Kieran, where we would have each piece give a little bit of the bonus rather than the whole set. So are we planning to do that anytime soon? Are we? Is this the question?
Sorry, I was looking at the chat. What did you talk about?
So the Graceful set, we've talked about breaking down its set effect into individual pieces, so that say you wear just the cape and the top, you would get X amount rather than either the full bonus or not.
Code's easy enough if they wanted it. They don't seem to think they do so far in the chat, but...
Interesting. I mean, it's been very popular in the past, so interesting that the chat would be vehemently saying no at the moment.
Maybe it's a vocal minority and they'd like to straw poll it.
Yeah.
We can do it. I believe we've straw polled it before. Happy to do so again if Mod Bruno, who's on chat, will kindly do that for us. The same player, AJ, has asked another question, which is, can the Ivan staff receive the Trident treatment, whereby the Dark Mage would require GPN runes to charge it, and then it can automatically cast Ivan's Blast?
How OP would it be?
It would be very strong, I feel. The Ivan staff's already one of the more cost-effective ways to get a high damaging spell for low-level or low to mid-level players.
Okay.
And personally, I wouldn't be willing to do this, really.
Okay.
Can it auto-cast?
Yeah, okay, not cast
So
already.
what's the difference?
It would be like charging, giving the charges to the staff. So you wouldn't have to carry runes with you anymore.
So, okay, so it sounds like it's maybe not that OP though. The only difference is you don't have to set it up the autocast first, which, with the changes that are going out this week, you're going to be able to save the autocast setting.
Yeah, I suppose.
They're not actually going out this week, by the way.
Well, so, it's a good point. Let's clarify that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't quite pass testing. We're having another go for hopefully next week.
Yeah.
Sorry. Probably for the best that it didn't go out, given it then failed testing.
Yes, just to clarify for anyone who doesn't know, the change we're discussing is allowing magical weapons like staves and wands to remember which spell you set as the autocast. So after switching, you would switch back and it would still have the same spell. I believe that's the change.
There's also the a very similar change involving the combat style of other weapons.
Yes.
That one's not coming out either because the two are kind of intertwined. So they'll come together hopefully next week.
Yeah.
We put similar things from the skilling poll in this week's update to make up for those not being in.
But it is worth reviewing that question in light of that change, that actually making the Ivans thing act like a trident probably doesn't really do much.
Well, they've pointed out that, as you can imagine, it means that you can use the spell when you're on that spell book.
Yeah.
The tridents.
Oh, that is an excellent point.
Yeah,
and also you need the runes in your inventory.
Yeah.
No,
Thought it was.
yeah.
Okay, so probably not looking to buff the Ivan staff is the bottom line there, I reckon. Kronos asks, well, they say I was assigned 165 blue dragons in the catacombs the other day, Mod Monroe.
Yes, this would be the brutal blue dragons.
By Konar on my
Yeah,
level
signed by
76
Konar.
account. Because brutal dragons are the only blue dragons found there, this seems like a high number. Are we willing to adjust?
It's probably more that it doesn't look at the combat level for that.
We're changing it so that it does.
Then in that case, perfect. So yeah.
Cool.
That answers that.
That is also a lot of brutal dragons, though.
Yeah, it's because the blue dragon task does seem to assign a lot.
That said, I haven't seen anyone who can kill them complain about the quantity. I have, however, seen people complaining that they can't kill any, or that it takes them a blinking long time to kill one or two. So hopefully the combat level change will make enough.
I think that would be the biggest. Yeah.
If not, then we can readdress it.
Yeah.
Cool. So we have an image for this next question, which I saw, if we could bring that one up. So this question from Ruru Rupert is, what do you think about a mutagen-esque drop for the Alchemical Hydra, which could be used to recolor the Dragon Hunter Lance and Ferocious Gloves? I think these look wicked, personally.
I like these very much so.
Yeah.
But I'm already annoyed that I did all my Hydra kills before the head was added and the jar. But I think there's two options here. If, we could add them as drops to the Alchemical Hydra, or we could add them to the clue drop table, or something like that instead. Because we already do have a lot of our ornament kits. These are essentially a form of ornament kit.
Yeah.
On clue scrolls, so I don't know. It's up to players. What do they want? Clues or Alchemical Hydra? But I like the idea in of itself.
Any opinion on these, Ash?
I'm not a visual person, but if they like the look of it, that's good.
Fair. So we seem generally keen on the idea, but we'll have to sort of investigate the best way to include them if we were to, whether that be clues or actually on the Hydra's table itself. So the straw poll results are in about the Graceful set effect, and surprisingly, I must admit I'm a little bit thrown off by this. So we asked, would you like all Graceful pieces to offer the same set effect percentage rather than different amounts based off which piece it
That
is?
looks like a slightly different question.
Yeah.
I think we've misworded the question a little bit. Any chance we could do that again, Mod Bruno? I think we should ask, how should we phrase it?
So if you wear part of the Graceful set, should it apply part of the Graceful set effect, essentially?
Okay.
Because right now you have to equip every single piece.
All right. In the meantime, SPO has asked if anything will ever be done with the frozen door in the God Wars dungeon. So
I mean, potentially. I mean, it's there. It would be really cool to do something with it one day, but I would hesitate to say anything we do with it that isn't next.
So it'd be a very cold toilet.
We're going to open it right now. We did open Tristan already back in the day.
obviously lots of necks in chat, but I don't know if we'd want to go down that route necessarily.
I'd love to add the boss. The reward's very questionable. But yeah.
Okay.
In terms of sorry, just going back to that last question a sec, because it's I'd like to actually straw poll that point about clues versus Alchemical Hydra for where the drop
yeah,
table goes.
absolutely.
But we are in the middle of a straw already, so.
Well, when we get this one
After
out of
this
the way, I'll come back to it.
But I would actually love to offer the next boss itself at one point in our future. But I don't think it should be a priority.
Yeah. Well, maybe even an old school exclusive rather than next. We could have our own sort of lore driven boss behind there.
And also, like, I doubt we would ever want to see HP boosting armor come into old school. I think it was incredibly powerful. But so we'd have to seek new rewards and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the last time we sort of discussed a constitution sort of change, it was.
I don't remember whether we discussed that for old school.
So I don't know about discussed, but I think I remember seeing a thing where the players were asked not so long ago about it, and yeah, it was downvoted into oblivion essentially. So quite keen to keep the HP system as it is.
Well, it's not that they loved it the first time they got it.
Grandmaster Clue asks, can we allow players to attach the hoods of their skill capes to the capes to create a hooded variant?
It's been a while, but this used to be asked every week, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's the graphics work to do it is, not major. But there's a significant amount of dev work associated with it.
Right.
Just
Because we'll need to let you. Well, firstly, it's easy if you're willing for us to get rid of hoods and make all skill capes have the hood attached, where you can't put it up. If you wanted that, we could do that.
What about a right click?
But I don't think you want that. So the option to toggle it,
yeah.
Yeah.
Pull it up or down.
that's where the heavy dev work is, basically.
Okay. I see.
I think people would want it as a toggle.
I would
Right.
imagine so, yeah.
So it seems possible, but yeah, lots of work behind it sounds.
Well, this was a bit more popular.
Yeah, this makes.
Yeah, so we've rephrased the poll to say, the straw poll to say, if you wear part of the Graceful set, should you be given part of the set effect per piece? 63% of the chat are in favour,
I swear it was a lot more positive the other week.
and the remainder say
think it
no.
was,
Yeah, it's been more positive in the past. I mean, we're still considering it. I believe it's in the backlog. Actually, maybe even one of our considerations for the last week of Qual month, if I'm not mistaken.
It's part of a bigger problem, right? This is just one potential solution, but I still think run energy is a problem in our game to some degree, right? Graceful does a lot to solve it, and obviously buying stamina potions pretty much wherever you go as well. But pretty much the first thing people do when they start on their account, if you know what you're doing, is go and get 50 odd agility so you can get your full Graceful set before you do anything else.
Yeah.
That's not great. It's a good reward, and obviously, but this way you allow people to get at least a partial benefit by 20 agility. And then, obviously, by the time you get 50, it's great, but it means that the game is a little bit more bearable at the early levels.
Yeah, we had a discussion actually, I think, a couple of weeks ago. I think actually it was yourself, was still Kieran talking about sort of potential options for resting or something like that.
Which I think, I mean, resting is one thing, but even then, it's not great. No one actually likes to stop and rest.
Yeah.
No.
You want to crack on. I mean, You all know, but even then, I'm thinking about free to play as well, right? This doesn't solve anything for free to play. Graceful. You join as a new player, which we have a lot of new players coming into the game through mobile. It is frustrating. You all know how frustrating it is. Hence, you spend thousands on stamina potions.
I heard one suggestion. I don't know if we discussed it before, and it was sort of a bonus whereby if you're running on a beaten path, so say between cities rather than cross country, that your run energy goes down at a slightly slower rate, just to make that a bit more.
I do like the idea that paths mean something rather than just being a bit of ground decor that somebody put down.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
So I thought that was an interesting idea.
But I'd love the community to be thinking about this, and if you've got ideas of how we can better improve the run walk energy system, I would love to hear it.
I just saw fast travel in the chat. That's called teleporting, my friend. So I'm going to move on to Wee Chillin's question, who wants us to buff gaining Lovacaine favour. They say that mining volcanic sulfur and making dynamite is too slow compared to the other houses.
Well, hopefully it's a lot less pressing now that you basically do it once and it's done. But I do know that Lova King is still not as good as the others, so I wouldn't mind readdressing it.
Maybe a bit faster in the sulfur place.
I think the sulfur might be improving. The sulfur wouldn't be the bad, because obviously I think you have to do that to 15% before you can.
I think that's saltpeter, is it not? Or was that Hesidius?
Hesidius favours the pushing the plough.
Yeah.
But the I think it is sulfur for Lovacaine, because I did it not too long ago. And but after that, it's not too bad when you can make the armor and use the minecart contracts. So
yes.
the later stages it's all right, but potentially making the earlier stages faster is not a bad idea.
Honestly, now that you get a 10,000 runecrafting XP, it's probably efficient.
The fact that they only have to do it once means it's not quite such the end of the world if the thing they did once was a grind and then they get the reward for having done it.
All right, I'll move to the next question, which is from Ninja Waffle. Just a quick note. Obviously, we couldn't do the usual Q&A stream last week, so I've taken questions from suggestions from last week as well as this. So that's the this question is a little bit dated, i.e. a week old.
Not like, what did the Egypt... Well, how did we build the pyramids? How are we going to build the pyramids?
Ninja Waffle asks, when can we expect the post-Kebos launch changes which were polled to be added into game? I'm excited for the Seed Vault to be released.
I'm pretty sure every other thing on that little poll is out.
Apart from the Seed Vault, which is what I'm actually working on at the moment.
Talk about your seed vault, sir.
Yeah, so the Seed Vault is in the early stages of being created. You can add seeds to it at the moment, but you can't get them back right now, which is a bit.
You've got an item sync.
Yeah, I've got an item sync. Yeah, for expensive seeds.
That's half of it done.
Did we specify in the poll that you could take them out again?
But yeah,
I think it's just somewhere to store seeds that we've pulled. So
yeah.
Technically.
Great.
Yeah. So yeah, currently working on that, and it should hopefully be quite soon, I would think.
That is good.
Yep.
Excellent.
So freeing up more bank space soon.
Yes.
But yeah, hopefully you understand it's a bit of a bigger task than changing, than adding sort of heads drop to the Hydra. This is basically a mini bank just for seeds.
Yeah.
Well, players were a bit disappointed not to get that one immediately in the Thursday straight after the poll. So I can see why they do like their content to come.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we close the poll on the Monday, and you get your Seed Vault by the Thursday.
That would be nice, but
So I see a suggestion in the chat about adding saplings to it. It's something that we're aware of that we would like to do, but we'll have to stick it on another poll at some point to just add saplings to that.
I think also it would be worth not padding out the feature with more and more and more in it so that it never comes out at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So to answer the question, everything from that post-Kebos launch poll blog is out now, minus the Seed Vault, which is coming very soon, courtesy of Mod Munro. Josh asks, what in-game goals do each mod on the sofa have, excepting Mod Bruno, who's actually on chat, because obviously he can enjoy the game now, being maxed and all.
What goals in game?
What goals in game do we have?
I've just finished 6.99s in the last week that I was off work. Booyah. I got 99 Slayer, I got 99 Strength, 99 HP, 99 Range, 99 Magic, 99 Prayer, all done. And so the only 2 combat stats I've got left are Attack and Defense. And I did it all through Slayer, but now I'm allowed to do Nightmare Zone because I did Slayer first. So I'm training the rest of Attack and Defense, which are both in... my attack's nearly 99, 96 at the minute. My defense is 88, so I'm going to Nightmare Zone those. And then my next goal will be to get 90 Herbalo so that I can do overloads.
Very nice.
Making good progress. My Herbalo's 87, so nearly there as well.
It's pretty good. My goals are not quite as, what I've done lately is not quite as impressive as that, but I'm currently working towards completing Theatre Blood and completing challenge mode raids under the time in a 5-man party. So.
Nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
Afraid any spare time I have for Old School is already spent either programming it or engaging with players on social.
That's fair. Myself, I'm ashamedly actually doing Max Melee before Slayer.
Yeah,
Which mod-
yeah, Mod Gambit, how are you doing that?
There's this little known method sort of just north of Yanul where you can AFK. It's pretty good. Actually got 99 strength very recently. The others soon to come. Once that's done, I'll probably go for sort of base 70s, I reckon, and do.
And then you'll tell us if we need to nerf Nightmare Zone.
It'll be interesting to see whether the updates we find ourselves pushing correspond with the things where you've already got.
Look,
haven't already got.
right, what I'm suggesting right now is we change our priorities and we nerf Nightmare Zone next week. Just to screw up a Mod Gambit.
It gives me 7 days.
Oh. So much for the Gambit.
Boulder Falcon asks if we can remove the tick delay when consuming Barbarian Potions to make them more like normal potions.
Is this the fact they delay you eating other food items and stuff?
Yeah.
They heal your HP. That is pretty much why they have to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would suddenly add probably a little bit of a new meta to PvP where you can stack up that with your food. Although, I mean, you probably wouldn't be able to do a brew as well. So.
Right. So is
Perhaps, but I really don't think it's something we should touch.
it just one of those things where the tuning is so fine that if we change it at all, it will either become super strong or useless?
To be honest as well, they heal like what, 3 health? Not much.
They don't heal a lot.
But it's not really content I want players to go and have to feel that they have to do.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's clunky, it's not great. So trying to fix it by just making them useful isn't going to make people enjoy it.
Mm. If we're not massive fans of that particular content, is there something we could consider doing to change that? Or are we not? Do you want to focus on
I think we need to review them as a whole and try and come up with a better use for them, but I'm not sure there's even a space for different types of potion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fair. We got the results back from that straw poll, didn't we? What was the other one we wanted to check? Ah, yes, the recolors for the Dragon Hunter Lance of Ferocious Gloves from potentially the Alchemical Hydra or Clues. So could we quickly straw poll, please, Mod Bruno? If recolor options were to become available for the Dragon Hunter Lance and Ferocious Gloves, should these come from Clue rewards or as a boss drop? And we'll have that in chat soon. So in the meantime, Magic 4 asks if we have plans to give rare unidentified fossils from Fossil Island a use. Currently they don't do much of anything.
Oh, Maz has a design all right. Quite an elaborate one. So elaborate that we weren't able to offer enough dev time to develop it at the time. We still want it though, in one form or another, and I'm pretty sure she'd be enthusiastic about taking on that project.
I spoke to Maz and Mod Rock as well, actually, who each had ideas for this content. So my understanding is Mod Maz's content was a boss, And the idea is you use the fossils to build different parts of it. And based on the parts that you build, it will have different abilities or skills and attacks, that kind of thing, which sounds amazing. If there's interest in that, then it could sort of, well, potentially rise in priority.
If you stick a Hydra tail on it or something, it gets a whip then.
In theory, something along those lines. And I believe Mod Rock's concept was you can trade the fossils into an NPC who would then convert your Slayer task into an undead version. So you'd go kill a sort of skeletal undead version of your Slayer task, which would allow you to, instead of skipping your tasks, you would sort of get an easier version, but obviously fewer points and experience. I think that was the idea, just a way to save points on cancelling Slayer tasks. Both I'm quite keen on, both I think are good. The reason they just didn't go in at the time, I understand, was just graphics and dev, essentially. But yeah, could revisit if desired. Redacted says that there's a gap between what the players interpret as qual and what the mods are including in qual month. Can we clarify what is considered qual, or if qual month will be changed to a small content changes month in future?
I would like the latter option, because a lot of the requests that were sent in for qual month were not qual, and that gives you the choice of saying, no, we don't want to do that kind of thing that you want, we're doing much smaller things than that, or to rename what we're doing to suit what the players are asking for. That feels like a better way to go, especially as, well, the definition of quality of life has always been kind of back and forth over the years anyway. And a lot of the things that used to be the subject of polls, players have occasionally accepted unpolled altogether, like clarifying text. We used to actually poll things like that back in 2013-14, and players reasonably pointed out that it was getting silly. So, yeah, I'd prefer us to, well, retire qual month and see what might better suit what players are looking for out of it instead.
Sure.
And of course, if the genuinely quality of life changes do keep getting requested, which I'm sure they will, then we can poll them like anything else.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's essentially our stance on the question. I'm up for that as well. I think that's a much more appropriate way to handle qual month. I think that's one of the main things that's been said by you guys so far, is that you know, balancing and this kind of thing isn't technically qual, but then if that's not the point of the month, we can change it essentially. So results from the latest straw poll are in. We asked if recolor options were to become available for the Dragon Hunter Lance and Ferocious Gloves, where should they come from? 61% of you say they should come from clue scrolls, and the remainder, 39%, say the Alchemical Hydra.
Fair play.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty strongly in favour of clue scrolls. I think generally speaking, adding ornament kits and that kind of thing to clue scrolls is good, because it is sort of a rising
Blue
tide.
Scrolls meta is cosmetic rewards.
Yep.
Yeah. And the Alchemical Hydra already has a rather large amount of drops and uniques.
And the Alchemical Hydra drops clues.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Cut out the middle, man.
A player whose username I chose to redact says says that there seems to be a gap between what the players oh, that's the last question. Ignore me. Hex Hunter asks, is there any form of protection from typeless damage such as Cabbage Mages, Tar Monsters, and Gorax? So
No.
no. So not even things like the prayers.
I think Elation and
yes.
stuff
Yeah.
reduces them, but
Okay.
Yeah, the alley.
yeah.
Does just this year?
Bulwark probably does.
Okay. So maybe Ely, Justicia, and Bulwark. Would we consider adding?
Justicia doesn't.
Oh,
I
doesn't.
don't believe.
Okay.
Justicia protects based on whether it's slash, stab, or crush.
Right.
So it's Bulwark and Ellie, I think.
Would we consider adding something to help reduce that kind of damage? Maybe a prayer.
Protect from
Um,
other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm pretty. I think the point of those damage is that it's bypassing everything, right?
And Dragonfire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. So the answer is there's not really a lot of things that will reduce that damage, and we don't intend.
I think the law reason at the time was that there's no prayer called Protect from Cabbage for the Breathlican Mage, but yeah.
And yet it's a kind of god mage. It feels like it. There's scope to. I'm not sure what you should pray to for protection against that.
Protect from cabbage.
So Madness suggests that we take the special attack energy icon next to your minimap, the little orb, and we add a function to it similar to the prayer orb where you can click on it to activate your special attack. This would make PvP on mobile more viable.
Is that related to the poll question?
Yeah.
I think this was suggested before the poll question, but yes. So for those of you that are interested in such a change, we are polling it, but for non-PvP only, because we don't want to mess with that, essentially. That would just be too much of a drastic change. But yeah, I think the way we've polled it is in any area where you can do it, it'll appear as normal. I think it was your suggestion, Ash, to have it greyed out where you wouldn't be able to use it, so it's quite obvious.
I figured if we were making it work in some places and not in others, it should jolly well show you up front before you try clicking on it, yeah.
So yes, that's going to be polled soon.
For what it's worth, this came as I think we put on the repolls thing because we offered something of the sort a very long time ago when we first got that orb. I forget how long ago we were doing that, but outside players agreed they didn't want it to be clickable to activate your special attack button. We are open to offering this modified version that's got a less impact than what we offered at the time. See if that passes. If not, sure. At least we know.
When is this blog meant to be going out?
I think the blog's out because they've been discussing it in the chat.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, the latest qual month for week 3 poll blog is out, where we're rerunning past questions that didn't quite pass. So you can see that.
Guess what question number 1 is?
Website.
Yeah, I think we were going to put that one on regardless of whether players mentioned it, to be honest.
Yep, question number 1. Make sure you check it out. It's really important.
Yeah.
Ditch. The ditch.
Yeah, and I expect that will go live on Friday, so pending your feedback. Give it a read, let us know what you think. Poll's going live on Friday, closing on Tuesday for you guys to vote on over the weekend. So, Habaden,
One of those.
Yep.
That player.
asks if the team has thought about an Eastern Lands expansion, possibly with an introductory quest involving Akharanu, the character who has a katana that you interact with in Ghosts Ahoy.
I imagine if we were to do it, we would very much start it off with that guy. But I've not even thought about Eastern Lands, to be honest.
We ain't quite finished the Western Lands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to sort of add as my own little note to this. They've got a lot to do with Zaya and Kebos and Korend in general before we think about anything like that.
Yeah.
But is it something we're open to, sort of generally? Another sort of big scale expansion?
I mean, at some point you need new land to put new content on. And Zaya, as much as they obviously had initial problems, like, I think we're now reaping the benefits of the fact Zaya exists. Kebos went really well. You guys seem to really respond well to it. But the storyline especially has allowed us to build a completely new story that obviously hasn't really got anywhere yet, but it's planted all the seeds for us to build out from that, and that's, I think, where we're going to be. It's going to get really exciting with the Zarek storyline, etc. But it's allowed us to add, obviously we could add raids to the core map, but it's allowed us to do raids with a unique storyline, add these new areas, and once we fill Zaya, perhaps then we need more, and we might look to do the Eastern Lands or whatever. But
well, Mod West's also been teasing at the Kingdom of Valamor, and I think we had it added to the pretty world map picture on the grounds that something's going to be there. A player referred to it as that dock south of the Raids 1 area. I don't think that's a dock, that's a bridge to a place that hasn't been mapped yet.
Yeah.
But of course, like, you've got the existing land, but it runs out of room, and to edit it, you also have to make changes to existing areas, which people might not be on board with. But you also don't want to overcrowd it.
I would, if we were doing things towards the east of the game, I'm sure there's some scope to play with Menethos. It's kind of east.
Yeah.
Not as east as Akanaru, who talks about going further east, but
For sure, but that is also a good point on the topic of black squares on our map. We have filled them in.
We don't have many left now.
We haven't done too many. We haven't got too many left yet.
we've certainly filled the
desert is the
holes
big
where
one
the
left.
troll quest ended up.
Yeah.
And yeah, the desert.
And then the Myths Guild was.
Yeah, and the Theatre of Blood
Oh, yeah.
with the Town
So-
of Sleep, which I would like to revisit. That's
for
kind of eastern.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
When you say you'd like to revisit Sleep, what do you have in mind?
Some content, some more content.
Yeah.
More content.
Something to give it a purpose.
Yeah, I mean, it looks nice, but there are characters in the area. They doubtless have more stories to tell.
It's
Yeah.
not- it's
And
not
if they don't yet, then they can.
and it's not a very small place either.
That's also true.
It's a perfect place for an individual quest that takes place in just one town, basically, of the local vicinity.
I'd say so.
Much like Ghost of High, right? Port Phasmatis. Port Phasmatis. I don't know.
Port Razmataz.
You know, like it sort of has that one quest, the Ghost of High quest, and that's pretty much all it seems to exist for. Obviously, it feeds into the Parrot quest from there, but yeah.
Yeah, that's more an accident to geography than anything else, and it's
Yeah.
kind of inconvenient. And of course, bone crushing.
Okay, so we are open to the idea of further expansions, and actually, I suppose the Great Correnders acted as quite a nice experiment and learning curve for how to introduce that sort of content. But no plans at the moment. We're going to finish what we've started first. I think
Yeah.
There's so much more we can do with what we currently have, and in fact, Mod West, I think, threw us a design involving a Desert Treasure sequel quite some time ago. Mind you, some of the dungeons he pitched for that we then went and used in Dragon Slayer 2. Anywho, he can make more.
All right, moving on. Pain123 asks how the team feels about pet emotes. Even something as simple as the King Black Prince breathing fire or something like
King
that.
Black Prince.
Is that? And that's the name of the pet,
Possibly
I believe.
Prince Black Dragon, rather
What
than
the hell
King,
did I call it?
a King Black Prince.
Prince Black Dragon. Oh, what a scuff. But yeah, how do we feel about emotes for pets?
Well, firstly, if they are a scaled down version of the boss, we could probably quite easily get them to do the boss animations. Making custom emotes, that's a waste of time.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. I noticed that a lot of these pet-related questions are just, well, they're full customizer, sort of more customization options.
Yeah.
I sort of, well, I would say some pets are certainly more desirable than others, particularly ones that can morph and that kind of thing. So if there are options to do that kind of thing and offer it, we will. But it's not always practical. Ian Novaril says that trading in iron sheets in the Piscatoris fishing colony after Swan Song only rewards the player with 20 gold pieces per sheet. Could this see a modest boost to experience and/or gold?
Well, we could make a grinding activity out of that. He does it mostly because if you'd got some spare ones from the quest, it seemed nice to let you get rid of them instead of having to drop them or out them. And you'd get less than the cost of a nature rune. So, no, we're not really looking to make a thing out of that.
Yeah. Sorry, someone in the chat has asked who's actually doing that content, and yeah, that was my reaction. I thought I would ask.
Thousands of the things.
It's someone who's got a
In hopes of us.
Piscatoris only Iron Man who's just like a GP.
That'd be one heck of a build. At least they have a lot of fish.
Yep. And that's it.
Cool. So the answer is probably not looking to do anything with that content. A question from Stable Orange is, if warding the new skill passes, will it be incorporated into the achievement diaries? And I'm sort of going to add my own little bit to the end of this, which is, would we also weave it into quest requirements and that sort of thing?
I mean, obviously Old School's never added new skills before, but it's not something we've ever done with new skills in RuneScape before, or even in the past of Old School. Like, firstly, we've never added new requirements to a diary, which I'm not sure we really want to go back on that. You can't take the XP lamp away that people have already gotten. You can just take the cape away, or the item itself. So I think that's a harder one to approach anyway. Weaving new requirements into old quests, again, people have already completed them, and anyone who's done them in the past will log on with one warning and have the quest complete. So it just doesn't make sense to take in a skill which isn't used in those quests and weave them in.
Sure.
Take big chompy bird hunting, the quest that has the word hunting in the title, so obviously the hunter skill should be related to it,
Yeah.
which came out, of course, a couple of years after the quest came out, if I recall correctly. That, while we could have gone back and retrofitted it so that people who'd done the quest still had, but everyone else had to get a hunter level to do it, that just never felt like a useful thing to have done, to be honest, and I don't see it being more useful with this one.
No.
Okay.
No.
So, I suppose
It's like new quests, absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
And it would make sense to start building up the new quests, starting with the requirements being fairly low on warding, and then maybe 2 years down the line we can start adding reasonable requirements for warding.
There could also quite usefully be a simple quest that introduces it, not necessarily locking it off behind the quest, but at least guiding you through the process of doing it and helping some dude who's going to help you with your warding as a reward for it in future. A bit like the Wolf Whistle quest in RS3. Mind you, that did lock off summoning, but it didn't have to. What I'm trying to avoid is something like Druidic Ritual, which introduces the Herblore skill by making you do something that's utterly unrelated to Herblore.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd also very much like to avoid one that levels you up.
Yeah.
If you have a quest unlocking a skill, don't make it have to take you to level 3.
There's a lot of exceptions we've had to put in to work around that.
Yep.
I can't remember the specifics, and it's sort of unrelated, but isn't there a way? Don't somehow? Bottom line is, some accounts have 2 Herblore, right? How did that happen? Am I mistaken?
If we didn't put the quest check on some content that gave Herblore XP, then that would very easily happen.
I believe it was to do with the
Like XP lamps.
I think it was through the pies, the Herbal boosting pies or something.
They shouldn't make the stats stay after it.
No,
first.
they boosted
Oh,
up
they gave you some.
and then they could make potions.
Yeah, that would do it.
That was it.
But that was undone and required the quest now.
Yeah.
I see. Moving on to Captain Reggie's question. He asks if a new set of hair and beard styles can be added. They reckon that the current selection is too limited.
I know the artists would love to do this, but it's hard to find the time amongst the time they're also spending working on all the other big content releases like Song of the Elves.
I'm having trouble imagining how many interesting beards a game needs. But I'm sure you'll be glad to send me pictures.
Maybe new hairstyles, perhaps, as well.
That's maybe more useful.
Yeah.
Any
I agree
hairstyles
with
in
you,
particular that we reckon we're missing? I mean, I thought the range was all right.
We have Kim Jong-un's hairstyle.
I'm sure there's many, many hairstyles we could possibly add.
Any other famous political leaders with striking hair? I don't know.
Putin doesn't really have any. Not much.
I see Man Bun in chat. That's an interesting suggestion. The Abe Lincoln. Yeah. Okay. So maybe, but probably not anytime soon, given how busy our artists are. So Morgan asks, when is a monster's drop actually determined? When it spawns or when it dies?
When it dies.
When it dies.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Rings of Wealth couldn't really be a thing because it would have to know up front whether the person who kills it will happen to have one on.
I love people get so deep into the question of statistics and randomness on how this generates. Like, if I die mid-Grado kill and somebody else finishes off my kill and they get a drop, would I have got a drop if I didn't die? I mean,
So if I've got a coin, I'm going to flip it and I get heads. But instead, Kieran stole the coin off me. He flipped it. Was that my heads?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, given that, I don't know exactly how it's working, but I imagine the seed is probably somewhat dependent on the current time.
Yeah, I don't think it...
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the random number generator is used by a lot more stuff than just picking numbers that will correspond to loot. It's used several times in every attack calculation by everybody and a lot of other processes besides across the whole game world. The idea that it's going to be bad for just you specifically is kind of conspiracy theory level, sorry.
The best conspiracies back in the day were getting a gem drop meant it was a drop reset, and that somehow that made it more likely that you're going to get rare loot. And also, once you've got a loot, the world's going to be dry for a while, so you need to hop worlds. These went around for so long, I didn't understand.
All right. So I suppose from a sort of developer standpoint, it's better to have it generate on death rather than on spawn, because that allows you to do things like manipulate with Ring of Wealth. Just from a sort of coding perspective, it gives you more wiggle room.
Also means we could have requirements on getting a drop, like the Monkey Madness 2 requirements on getting some of the dragon stuff.
Yeah.
And having the NPC pick a random number in advance and remember it, and then act on it later,
Right.
is not all that useful. Now, if players could find out what the number was through a spell, maybe, then you can start getting some content out.
Now, funnily enough, I've thought about this before, and I think there are some cases where you might want to pre-generate it, where the player has to, like, knows this is the one. I cannot screw up this boss fight, because if I teleport, if I die, that's it. That loot's gone.
Oh.
Something akin to that.
Interesting.
That'd be kind of.
And it would have to be something where they can't just go in and out until the boss turns out to be wearing the magic hat that they're hoping
So
to
it's
get.
more like Verzik. Would be a raid boss is perfect because you've done the whole raid to get to this boss, and then there's something indicating straight away this one's going to drop something nice.
Different.
Right.
But anyway, we'd have to consider it very carefully if you do that. But I like the idea that you know this is a serious deal.
Yeah, especially if you're low on resources as well. Half HP, no food left. Gotta kill it.
Right. We're approaching actually the end of the questions here, so if you have any in chat, don't forget to post them. I'm going to ask the last one that I have here for the time being, which is from Eleven. And they ask, since the Serpentine Helm is now best in slot, is it possible to introduce a blue recolor to the Fire and Infernal capes to match the lava in Mount Karum? The Magma Helm goes with these capes, but the Tanzanite version does not.
Yeah, they're looking for uses for the mutagens again, like J2 was saying in the chat.
I must say I missed what J2 said in the chat.
Well, it's J2, 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 but you get the idea. About giving more uses for mutagens, because once you've got the things recoloured already, any spare mutagens, you can alch them. So yeah, they have no uses.
Well, I'm very cautious about adding cosmetics to Fire capes and Infernal capes.
Yeah, sure.
Because of how iconic these items are. I mean, if somebody came up with something that everyone was actually behind, then yeah, we would consider it, I think. But personally, I'd like to keep any cosmetic upgrade to the Infernal cape down to a hard mode Inferno.
That's fair enough. I've also seen suggestions for being able to use the mutagen on your blowpipe to change its colour. That I quite like. I think that makes some sense.
For what it's worth, back in 2015, when that first became a thing, having a blowpipe, we had to decline at the time because it takes quite a lot of dev work to make new versions of items with that many features to them. And there's a lot of code on blowpipes because there's different forms of it, and you've got to be able to use things on each other in the right order. It was not looking like a great use of the dev time. The thing is, back then, Mod Reach and I were the only devs, which meant that what we could deliver was much more limited than now. The team's got like 7 of us, and well, many of the team have been devs for longer than Mod Reach was one, so more time to practice and get good, which means we can actually start looking at that kind of thing again. I mean, just because I had to rule it out in 2015 doesn't mean it's ruled out forever. And I think repainting your blowpipe can be on the horizon.
Oh, excellent. There we go.
Not that I'm personally offering to drop everything and do it right now. I've got quite a lot of other work on, I'm afraid, but somebody can do it. Who's that new guy we've got?
Mod Tide.
Ah, yes. Sits across the desk from me.
Yes.
But I'll give Mod Tide the
Don't drop a mail on it.
the new dev we're discussing is Mod Tide at JagXTide on Twitter. For anyone who doesn't know, you can follow him there, see what he's getting up to.
I think they're about to tell him what he should be getting up to.
I think you might be right.
Okay, well that just about rounds it up then for the questions. I know we're approaching 6 p.m. here in the UK. So just a quick reminder for anyone who missed it at the beginning: if you're in the Bay City area of San Francisco, keep an eye out for a message from us, either in both your email address inbox and your in-game inbox, inviting you to help us out with a project. That just about wraps things up for us this week. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me here on the couch and Mod Bruno in chat, and we'll catch you next week.
Have a good one.